Yamada is an antisocial loser who spent his whole life gooning to video games. However, everything changes when he falls in love with a sad gamer girl, and will do anything to rizz her up. It all starts the day a girl named Akane gets dumped by her boyfriend after he admits he prefers dating thick baddies. Heartbroken, Akane decides to bury her misery by playing her favorite game, but that's when she runs into Yamada's in-game character, so she begins ranting to him about how she was dumped. However, when she notices the paper bag-looking elf isn't interested in her K-drama, she angrily tells him to screw himself and logs out of the game. A few minutes later, Akane receives a notification for an event where all gamers will be in attendance and get a free rare item for attending. And since her ex-boyfriend, Takuma, is also a gamer, she decides to attend the event to see his new babe. On the day of the event, Akane shows up looking like a snack, determined to make Takuma regret ever fumbling her. When she spots Takuma and his new hot catch, she desperately runs after them to flaunt her curves. But she accidentally bumps into Yamada and crashes to the ground so hard that one of her heels comes off. However, just as she is about to cry in embarrassment, Yamada returns the heel, and she instantly gets rizzed up by his emo face. She quickly gets up, apologizes, and tries to explain that she's going through a rough breakup, but bro simply tells her he isn't interested. Just as he's about to leave, Akane gets hit by a deja vu, and that's when she clocks that he must be the ugly-looking elf she met in the game. To confirm her suspicion, she calls him by his in-game name, and Yamada immediately turns to ask who she is. Before she can explain, Takuma and his new babe suddenly show up, so Akane immediately tries to flaunt her curves again. But the dude ignores her like a YouTube ad, and instead goes wild over Yamada, since Yamada is insanely famous in the pro gaming world, and has been his idol for years. This pisses Akane off, so she immediately grabs Yamada by the arm and brags that they are dating just to make her ex jealous. When Yamada tries to deny it, she secretly begs him to play along, even offering him the rare item she got as a ticket. The gamer in Yamada can't resist such a temptation, so he agrees to be her fake boyfriend, and this excites her. Her plan works as Takuma is unable to believe that a rookie like Akane can link up with his idol, since for years he has been rage-baiting Yamada on Instagram just to get his attention. Devastated, he breaks down in tears like a sore loser, and just watching him crash out makes Akane feel like she just won the lottery. Later that day, Akane drags Yamada to a bar to drink away her sorrow, because even though she got her revenge, it doesn't change the fact that she was replaced by a hottie with more curves. However, when she tries to talk about her heartbreak, Yamada shuts her down, saying he needs to go home. Pissed off, she yells that he will die a cold virgin if he continues to be nonchalant, but Yamada simply tells her that he doesn't give two forks about love and only wants to game. Hearing this, Akane is surprised to learn that such a good-looking guy is a single Pringle. But deep down, she sadly agrees that romance isn't worth the hype, and this brings back painful memories of her heartbreak. So she excuses herself to the restroom to cry, where she realizes she not only stained her clothes when she fell but also scraped her ankle, and this adds to her frustration. A few minutes later, when she returns, she sees Yamada is gone, and immediately assumes he ditched her. This makes her feel like she just got dumped all over again, but suddenly, Yamada shows up and asks her to sit. When she does, he pulls out the band-aids he bought after noticing the scrape on her ankle, and the kind gesture melts Akane's heart. Feeling overwhelmed, she bursts into tears and begs him to have more drinks with her, to which Yamada reluctantly agrees. The next morning, Akane wakes with a terrible hangover, only to hear someone talking in the background. When she clears the sleep fog from her eyes, she turns, only to realize she is in Yamada's crib and he is playing a game right in front of her. When Yamada notices she's awake, he approaches, but Akane freaks out and stumbles over the bed. Immediately, she accuses Yamada of piping the heck out of her while she was wasted, but bro immediately denies it before she demands alimony. He explains that she drank herself into a mess the night before, and since he isn't a heartless gooner who would abandon her on the roadside, he brought her back to his apartment. Embarrassed, Akane apologizes for the trouble she caused, but the nonchalant protagonist asks her to leave, saying he hates the smell of unwashed kitty in his crib. Akane agrees to go, but before she leaves, he mentions that he washed her puke-covered clothes and hung them in his bathroom, making her even more embarrassed. Soon after, on her way home, Akane can't stop feeling like a worthless roadside hooker who spent the night at the apartment of a guy she barely knows. When she gets home, she freshens up, but while trying to relax on the bed, she notices her love pendant necklace is missing. She wonders where she must have carelessly left it, so she immediately searches everywhere but still can't find it. While brainstorming where it might be, she recalls Yamada mentioning her puke-covered clothes, which makes her realize she must have forgotten the necklace in the gloomy idiot's apartment. Since she doesn't have his contact, she quickly logs into the game, hoping to find him online, but instead, she runs into Ruri, her guild master, and when she checks if Yamada is online, she realizes he is offline, which breaks her heart. Tears start to form in her eyes as she remembers the day Takuma gifted her the necklace, the first present she ever received from him. While she is lost in thought, reminiscing about the past, Ruri snaps her back and asks if everything is fine. When Akane admits that she is going through a lot, Ruri then offers to be her unpaid therapist, so Akane tells her that she got dumped by her boyfriend and also lost her precious necklace. But instead of helping, the brain-dead Barbie starts yapping nonsense, so Akane shuts up, realizing her brain isn't in the right place. Just then, Yamada shows up with his ridiculous afro, and as Akane excitedly tries to get his attention, Ruri jumps ahead and starts flirting with him. But Yamada brushes her off, saying he's busy and needs to slay the boss. Still, the desperate hoe won't let him be, so Akane sends him a private message instead, telling him she might have left her necklace at his place. But Yamada simply replies, no, frustrating Akane, who wasn't expecting such a short response. Ruri then asks Yamada to chill with them, but the game addict says he'd rather discuss the guild's storage. He complains that the chest is always stuffed to the brim with useless items, even though he always cleans it out, but Ruri argues that whoever puts the items there must be doing it out of goodwill. Just then, Akane overhears them talking about the items in the storage chest and is about to announce that she is responsible for putting them there, but Yamada angrily calls the items trash. Hearing this breaks Akane's heart, but Yamada refuses to put a filter on his tongue and instead continues insisting that the items are worthless. Ruri tries to tell the inconsiderate moron to chill with his choice of words, but just then Akane sadly confesses that she is responsible and apologizes. Still, Yamada warns her never to do it again and advises her to be more selective since storage space is limited. Feeling miserable, Akane immediately logs out of the game, and Ruri blames Yamada for being an insensitive jerk. Back in his apartment, Yamada realizes he just messed up by being so hard on Akane, so he also decides to log out for the day. When he stands up from his gaming chair, he accidentally steps on something, and when he checks, he realizes it's Akane's necklace, with the pendant broken from him stepping on it. The following day, Akane meets up with her bestie, Momo, who is eager to know all about the hot gamer nerd she slept at a few days earlier. She asks if they smashed, but Akane gets embarrassed and immediately denies it. Then she quickly changes the topic and starts talking about the precious necklace Takuma gave her, which she misplaced. But Momo calls her a stupid simp for wanting back the necklace of a guy who played with her heart better than Messi plays ball, and those words pierce Akane like an arrow. Later, as Akane heads home, she thinks about the game and how she hasn't logged in since Yamada roasted her like a steak. While lost in thought, she overhears two ugly girls confessing to a Rizlord, and this catches her attention. She remembers how, back when she was in school, she had also simped hard for a senior and confessed to him. However, while reminiscing about those days, Akane suddenly hears Yamada's voice, and that's when she realizes he is the gigachad the flat girls are confessing to. To her shock, Yamada turns them down, saying he would rather touch gamepads than touch their fish-smelling kitties. As he walks away, Akane shouts his name, and realizing he doesn't recognize her, she immediately runs after him and introduces herself as the girl he helped at the online game event. She then asks why he was being so harsh on the girls who confessed to him, but that's when she realizes the clueless idiot had no idea he was even being confessed to. Yamada then returns her broken necklace and apologizes for stepping on it. Akane thanks him, but lies that she doesn't need it anymore and was planning on throwing it away. When they get outside, they realize it's raining, but that doesn't stop Akane as she says goodnight and runs into the rain. But Yamada's simp mode activates, so he immediately runs after her, gives her his umbrella, and then runs off without looking back. The next morning, Akane receives a package, and when she reads the note attached, she realizes it's from her mom, who sent all the junk she had kept at the house over the years. Since the pile clutters her apartment, Akane calls Momo for help, but Momo angrily tells her to throw everything into the garbage. Akane tries to stop her, but Momo bags up all the trash and only keeps the broken necklace and the umbrella Yamada gave her. Akane recalls Yamada advising her to be more selective with her choices, and this makes her realize that she can't keep holding on to everything precious to her. So, she throws out everything, including the broken necklace, and to celebrate Akane finally letting go of the past, the girls decide to have a couple of beers. Later that same night, Yamada's doorbell rings, and when he opens the door, he sees Akane and Momo, who say they came to return his umbrella. Seeing how hot Yamada is, Momo starts throwing herself at him like baddies at Coachella, but this pisses Yamada off, so he threatens to call the cops on them. Terrified, Akane confesses that returning the umbrella was just an excuse, and that her real reason for coming was to thank him for saving her from embarrassment at the event. She then grabs Momo, and they start to leave. But Yamada feels guilty for how he treated them, so he calls out to Akane and tells her to log back into the game whenever she is free. That instantly brightens her mood, and she happily promises that she will. Days later, Momo arranges a double date for herself and Akane so Akane can finally get some hard piping for her rusted peaches. But since the guy is uglier than anything she's ever seen, Akane decides to scroll through her phone instead. However, when the loser won't stop bothering her, she then texts Momo saying she wants to go home. On the way back home, Momo scolds Akane for wasting yet another hookup date just to play on her phone, but Akane explains she was reading a text from Ruri. When Momo asks who Ruri is, Akane shows her Ruri's adorable avatar in the game, explaining that Ruri is her friend, but Momo calls her a dummy for giving out her personal contact to some random gamer who might just be another Joe Goldberg. Later, at home, Akane can't stop thinking about what Momo said about Ruri possibly being a creepy middle-aged guy. Trying to shake off the thoughts, she logs into the game hoping to have a fun-filled adventure, but is surprised to see the guild hall empty. After looking around, she spots Ruri and Yamada outside having a serious conversation, completely unaware of her presence. She then sends a group message, asking if they can all go hunting. But that's when she finds out that Ruri is telling Yamada about the past and how much fun she had when it was just the two of them alone in the guild. This makes Akane suspect that both of them must be secretly dating, so she logs out feeling jealous. That night, Akane can't stop thinking about it, and even the next day in class, she's too emotional to pay attention. After class, she heads home, but along the way she runs into the ugly loser Momo tried to hook her up with. Even though she would love nothing more than to ditch the fool, she accepts his invitation to walk her home. On the way, the guy won't stop yapping about how much he loves his mom, especially at night, frustrating Akane so badly she wishes the ground would swallow her. When they arrive at the train station, Akane suddenly spots a pretty girl dressed like a Barbie, and she immediately thinks of Ruri. However, things get awkward when she suddenly sees the girl run to meet Yamada. As they leave together, the girl clings to Yamada, making Akane even more jealous, and making her suspect the mini Barbie must be Ruri. The broke loser then tries to get her attention, but Akane runs off, telling him to go goon somewhere. Later that night, at home, Akane can't stop thinking about Yamada and Ruri, and she is just too depressed about it to even game. Suddenly, she gets a text and assumes it's Momo, but is surprised to see it's from Ruri, asking her to log in. Akane replies that she isn't in the mood, so Ruri tells her about a new cafe where gamers can meet, then asks her to come. Ruri also mentions she ran into Yamada unexpectedly, and he'll be there too, so Akane agrees. The next morning, Akane gets another message from Ruri confirming the meetup, so she dresses in her best outfit and boards a train to the location. After getting off, she searches for the cafe using Google Maps, but while standing on the road, a guy with glasses bumps into her, knocking her phone out of her hand. He apologizes, and when he picks up her phone, he notices she's searching for the same game cafe he's headed to. So after returning her phone, he offers to show her the place, and Akane agrees. As they walk, the guy won't stop yapping about his die-hard love for the game, and Akane struggles to resist the urge to punch his stupid face. He says he started playing the game with his homie, and over the years, they've managed to create their own guild. He then asks Akane what she thinks about the game, but Akane shyly tells him that she is a beginner who is still trying to find her way around it. She tells him how she got yelled at just the other day for putting trash in the guild's storage, and hearing this makes the dude tense up. However, Akane admits that her guild master has been so kind to her, and when she says she really likes her guild, the blonde-haired dude smiles like he just unlocked some rare item. Just then, they spot the same Barbie-looking girl calling out, and Akane notices Yamada standing behind her with his usual gloomy facade. So she immediately runs to meet Yamada, leaving behind the blonde dude she is talking to. When she tries to be chummy with Yamada, the short Barbie grabs his hand and shoots her a territorial glare that screams, "Keep off." Thinking the girl is Ruri, Akane tries to act friendly, but the shorty keeps staring at her like she wants to knock her teeth off. This makes Akane doubt whether this mini Kevin Hart is even Ruri, since in the game Ruri has never been this cold. Just then, the blonde dude approaches and calls Akane by name, which surprises her. Soon after, as they all sit inside the cafe, Akane notices the blonde dude gisting with a big-headed baldy, and she wonders who the both of them are. When she asks the little Barbie, who she still assumes is Ruri, the girl tells Akane that the blonde dude's name is Ada while the baldy is Kamoeda. Having had enough with Akane calling her Ruri, she tells Akane that her name isn't Ruri, and Akane is shocked to hear this. She then demands to know who Akane is and why she's sitting at their guild's meetup, but Akane is too confused, having just realized the little Barbie isn't Ruri. To clear things up, Yamada suggests they all introduce themselves, so Ada goes first, excitedly introducing his game character as Ruri. Shocked to hear this, Akane calls him a scammer, but Ada explains that even though he's a guy in real life, he loves playing as a girl in the 2D world to live out his freaky fantasies. Akane lashes out, saying she confided in him when she got dumped, thinking he was a baddie, but Ada begs her to chill, assuring her it wasn't him she confided in but Ruri. After the big-headed freak introduces himself, he also introduces the short meanie as Runa, Ada's younger sister, and then introduces Yamada. However, he adds that Yamada doesn't need much of an introduction since he and Akane already know each other. Hearing this makes Runa jealous, and she immediately demands to know where and how they got to know each other. Nervously, Akane explains that they met at an event, but even after her explanation, she notices Runa giving her the dagger stare, making her realize Runa now sees her as a threat. Suddenly, an awkward silence follows, so to break the tension, Akane jokes about how she had initially thought Yamada was capping when he said he was maidenless. She says she's glad to know he wasn't capping, but immediately she realizes she just sounded like an obsessive weirdo. Unfortunately, Runa hears it and angrily demands to know what she means when she said she is glad Yamada has no babe to his name. Freaking out, Akane is unable to respond, so Runa bluntly asks if she is in love with Yamada. As Akane tries to explain, Ada immediately shuts his nosy sister's mouth and apologizes for her nasty behavior. For a moment, Akane is relieved to be off the hook, but when she notices Yamada giving her a soul-piercing side-eye, she gets tense all over again, and this time accidentally drops the glass cup. When she tries to pick up the shards, Yamada knocks her hand away, telling her to let the staff handle it so she doesn't hurt herself. Embarrassed by this, Akane turns away to avoid his gaze, so Yamada claims to have a call and then leaves, so she won't have to look at him. This relieves Akane, and as she returns to her seat, Ada also claims he needs to use the toilet and leaves. Outside the cafe, Ada finds Yamada staring blankly at his phone, so he sits beside him and asks what the problem is. Yamada confesses that he feels his presence inside the cafe is messing up the vibe and making Akane uncomfortable, but Ada tells him that isn't true and advises him to learn how to understand a girl's feelings, or risk dying an 80-year-old virgin. Hearing this triggers Yamada's memories, making him remember the first girl he ever fell in love with. A few hours later, the gamers' meeting ends, so Ada reminds everyone about the guild battle that night and urges them to log in. When Kamoeda notices Runa eyeballing someone so badly, he approaches and asks, "What's wrong?" Runa then admits she doesn't like Akane one bit, saying watching her throw herself at Yamada and her brother makes her want to snap her neck like a chicken. She says she misses when it was just the four of them playing and swears to do anything to kick Akane out of the guild. Shortly afterwards, Yamada and Akane board the same train since they are headed in the same direction. However, being in such close quarters with Yamada makes Akane tense. So she tries to strike up a conversation by asking a bunch of stupid questions, but since Yamada is too much of a creep around girls, he responds coldly, frustrating her attempt. Just then, Akane notices a group of thirsty cougars staring at them like they're the last slice of pizza. This confuses her, making her wonder if she has dog poop on her head. However, when she traces their gaze, she realizes the cougars ain't staring at her but are mesmerized by Yamada's emo riz. This makes her remember that she was also captivated by his bad boy face the first day they met at the event. She also remembers Runa accusing her of falling in love with Yamada, and this makes her wonder if the dwarf is right, but she shakes her head and tries to tell herself that Yamada is just an online gamer friend. After getting off the train, Yamada buys pudding for dinner, and Akane is surprised that's all he wants to eat for dinner. As they walk home, she asks if he cooks, but Yamada tells her no, explaining that he lives off junk, and Akane now sees the reason why he is so skinny. She tries to stop herself from prying into his personal life, but she realizes if she doesn't, Yamada might one day become as thin as a broomstick. Struck with an idea, Akane asks Yamada to give her 10 minutes, promising to be back in a jiffy. As she quickly runs home, Yamada sits on the beach waiting for her while thinking about how depressed she was when they first met and how much she's bounced back since. When Akane gets to her apartment, she quickly takes out empty food containers and fills them up with food. Then, she runs back carrying the food to meet Yamada while panting like Rick Ross on a treadmill. Confused, Yamada asks what's in the bag, and after catching her breath, Akane tells him it's rice and curry she made that morning. She then gives him the food, but Yamada rejects it so she doesn't start seeing him as a beggar. Still, Akane insists that he take it and then mocks how diabolical it is for a grown man to eat pudding for dinner. She also tells him to see it as a gift from one guild mate to another, so Yamada reluctantly accepts it. Just then, Akane's phone rings, so she picks up, thinking it's Momo, but to her shock, it's Runa, who says she got her number from her brother. Runa apologizes for being so mean to her, and then asks if they can hang out sometime again, promising that this time she wants to do things right. Akane accepts her apology and excitedly agrees they meet up that weekend. After the call, she tells Yamada how happy she is that Runa doesn't hate her and even wants to meet, but Yamada finds it suspicious. That night, Yamada checks his calendar and realizes he was supposed to tutor Runa that weekend, and this makes him wonder why she had asked to hang out with Akane at the same time. On the weekend, Akane arrives at the rendezvous where she is supposed to meet Runa, but instead she meets a flathead bozo who won't stop calling her Ruri. Suddenly, she gets a message from Runa, saying she wouldn't be able to make it and she should enjoy a good time with her online gamer friend. Immediately, Akane panics, realizing she's doomed to spend the afternoon with the four-eyed creep who just won't shut up, so she quickly leaves for the restroom to escape the maniac. While hiding in the toilet, Akane wonders why Runa ditched the meeting and sent a bozo as her replacement. She's also baffled as to why the guy keeps calling her Ruri even though she's explained countless times she isn't. Meanwhile, Yamada arrives at Ada's place to tutor Runa just like he does every weekend, so her mom excitedly takes him up to Runa's room. The instant Runa sees Yamada, she feels ticklish in her wet spot and quickly shuts the door on her mom, eager to have privacy with her crush. Excited to start the lesson, she tells Yamada she completed the drills he assigned, but Yamada coldly asks if she doesn't have someplace else to be. Nervously, Runa denies it, and when she gets a call, she immediately cuts it off, insisting she has no plans that day. Back in the restroom, Akane calls Runa repeatedly but grows frustrated when the brat refuses to pick up. As Akane thinks of a way to ditch the meeting, she hears the creep knocking on the door, scaring her half to death. As she wonders what in the horror movie is going on, the dude asks if she is okay, so Akane claims she has a terrible stomachache, hoping that will send him away. But to her horror, the nutcase starts forcing his way in, insisting he needs to see her. At the same time, Runa finally confesses to Yamada that she stood Akane up. However, the clueless midget doesn't seem to see anything wrong with her naughty behavior, as she continues to insist that she didn't leave Akane alone but instead asked a gamer friend to keep her company. When Yamada asks who this friend of hers is, Runa proudly explains that it's one of those obsessed fans of her brother's character. She adds that she impersonated Ada by using his account to invite the dude, promising him a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet his celebrity crush. Realizing Akane might be in danger, Yamada demands the address of the meetup, but Runa refuses to give it and tries to stop him. Yamada insists on going, but as he opens the door, he crashes into Ada, who brought snacks so they can all hang out. After Ada learns about everything going on, he logs into his account to find the meetup address, while Runa sulks, reminiscing about when it was just the four of them in the guild. Just then, the doorbell rings, and when they open, Meathead runs inside crying that Akane has been kidnapped by mafia thugs, but Ada asks him to chill, explaining that he misunderstood the story. Soon after, Komoda fast and furious them with his minivan to the location, hoping to save Akane before anything bad happens. On the way, Ada demands Runa apologize to Akane for what she did, but the brat refuses, so he angrily tells her no boy will date her with this smelly attitude. Runa angrily counters that she doesn't care, and then says it's all Ada's fault for letting a newbie into their guild without asking for her permission. But Ada tells the queen bee that being mean won't make her grow taller. When they finally reach the location, they spot Akane and the creep, so Komoda rushes the creep, threatening to sue if he laid a hand on her. When Yamada and Ada approach, Akane is surprised to see them, so she asks what they are doing there, and Ada explains that they were worried, so they came to check on her. Yamada notices Akane is badly injured on her leg, and when he asks how it happened, the long-head weirdo immediately takes the blame for the injury. Wanting an explanation, Ada grabs the idiot by the tie and threatens to cut off his oxygen supply if he doesn't talk, so he confesses that Akane had slammed her shin against the toilet seat when he startled her. Just then, Runa shows up, and Akane is surprised to see her. After a few minutes of awkward silence, Runa tries to run away, but when Akane tries to chase after her, she hits her injured leg and screams in pain. The instant Runa hears Akane scream, she stops running and immediately returns to check on her, but suddenly Ada angrily asks her to come with him so he can scold her. Runa tries to make Yamada beg on her behalf, but he refuses, insisting that she needs to be scolded for what she did. Ada grabs her by the hand, and as he takes her away, Akane immediately claims to have a serious stomachache, just to save Runa from getting scolded. She then asks Ada, Yamada, and Kamaweda to help get her pain reliever from the pharmacy, and for the weirdo in the suit she tells him to go die somewhere. When Runa tries to help get the drug, Akane grabs her hand and asks her to stay while the boys get it. When they leave, Akane and Runa are left all alone, and Runa expects Akane to yell at her for the evil thing she did, but contrary to her expectation, Akane asks what level she is in the game, and Runa nervously says she is totally maxed out. Akane is disappointed since she thought they could hunt together, but the game doesn't allow newbies to hunt with maxed out players. But Runa says she doesn't mind hunting with her since she also has a low-level player, and this makes Akane smile. Having grown sick of Akane acting all clueless, Runa finally voices it out and confesses that she stood her up intentionally. She admits she did that because she hates her and wanted her out of the guild. But while she says these things, Akane remembers how concerned Runa was when she heard her scream in pain, and this makes her smile. So she tells Runa that she will leave the scolding to Ada, and then admits that the reason she accepted to hang out was because she wanted to get close to her and asks for her permission to enter her circle of friends. Touched by those words, Runa bursts into tears and apologizes to Akane for being so mean. Soon after, the boys return with the medicine, only to find Akane consoling Runa, who's bawling her eyes out. Akane welcomes them back with a smile, and when Kamaweda asks if her stomach is okay now, she admits she feels much better. In the past, Runa was considered a weirdo whom everyone avoided because they couldn't quite understand her. Even so, Runa didn't care because she had over 300 online friends who kept her company, and the fact that she was pretty made all the boys in her class simp over her. But since she only had eyes for Yamada and his gloomy face, she saw the boys in her class as nothing more than awkward ducklings. Weeks later, Runa visits Akane at home, and since she and Akane have grown closer since the weirdo incident, Runa feels more confident expressing herself even in her presence. While having lunch, Akane receives a text from Momo, and as she reads it, Runa gets jealous because she hates sharing her friends. Akane then suggests they go watch a television drama being filmed just down the street, since her celebrity crush will be there, and Runa reluctantly agrees. On their way back, they spot some bunch of Gen Zs doing a TikTok challenge, and Runa thinks they must be slow-brained to dance in public like that, but Akane advises her to loosen up and starts dancing with them, so Runa decides to join in too. The next day, Mo shows up at Akane's place, depressed since no guy wants to crack her pootie. As she vents, hoping Akane will console her, she notices Akane and Runa are deeply focused on the game they're playing. This annoys her, so she complains about Akane spending all day gaming online with some runaway brat. But Akane explains that Runa didn't run away from home but left the house because she isn't on speaking terms with her brother. Still, Mo doesn't like that Akane is playing games with the flat board, and this pisses off Runa, so she tells Mo to go home if she's bored. While the two argue, Akane keeps playing and soon runs into Yamada in the game. She tries to flex her upgraded shoes, hoping to score some points, but Yamada tells her she bought the wrong upgrade material. Disappointed, Akane explains that she tried to copy his power-up, but Yamada reminds her that he is a wizard while she is a paladin, so they use different gems. Not giving up, Akane says she will hunt for the type of gems that is suitable for her class, and seeing her determination, Yamada apologizes for being so cold. This makes Akane smile, but Momo grows angry seeing her have so much fun gaming, so she puts Akane in a chokehold, insisting they go on a group date instead. After Akane frees herself, she returns to the game to hunt, but her laptop suddenly crashes and smokes like burnt food. Later that night, Ada is surprised to find Runa in the sitting room, so Runa tells him how Akane's laptop exploded while she was playing the game. She says Akane told her that she won't be able to play the game again until she can save up enough money to buy a new one. The next morning, while Akane is bawling her eyes out because she can't play, she hears a knock on the door. When she opens it, she sees Yamada, which surprises her, but Runa pops out to explain that he is the repairman she brought. The night before, Yamada had gotten a call from Ada, asking him if he had a spare laptop. When Yamada said he didn't, Ada told him about Akane's broken laptop and urged him to fix it by swapping out the damaged parts. Yamada asks why he didn't just fix it himself, but Ada explains that he is trying to help him cure his extreme blue balls. Back in the present, Akane is excited that Yamada came to fix her laptop, but Yamada crushes her hope, saying he just came to take a look. While Yamada checks the laptop, Runa shows Akane all her plot covers hanging on top of him, and this makes Akane panic. So, she quickly leaps like a pro basketball player to hide them before Yamada notices. Having Yamada in her crib feels strange to Akane, and she remembers how awkward he is around girls, so she decides to make him as comfortable as she can. She makes cookies so they can all eat, expecting Yamada to turn them down, but to her surprise, the hungry Chad accepts them. He then compliments how delicious the curry she gave him days back was, and this makes Akane light up the room with her smile. Seeing her smile, Runa recalls the day Ada told her about a sweet girl who had just joined their guild, and how he thought she would be perfect for Yamada. Even though she was strongly against it then, now she can see what Ada meant, so she secretly takes a pic of Yamada and Akane together and sends it to Ada, with a caption that they look cute together. Ada gets overjoyed when he sees the picture, so he sends a reply to Runa, instructing her to do what she can to help them grow closer. Runa accepts the mission like a dutiful soldier, and after brainstorming romantic ideas, she meets Akane in the kitchen and asks if she plans to bathe soon. Her plan is to make Yamada run into Akane while she's bathing, but Akane ruins the plan by saying she isn't ready yet. Not giving up, Runa pushes Akane out of the kitchen so she can spend more time with Yamada, but this accidentally leads to Akane bumping her head against Yamada's. Akane furiously scolds Runa and asks her to stop, but she makes things worse by flipping her hair into Yamada's eyes. She immediately apologizes, and as she tries to check if he is hurt, they get close to almost kissing, and this makes the shy virgin pull back. He claims he is fine, and then says he is heading home to bring the tools he needs to fix the laptop. Akane tries to stop him, but he hurriedly leaves, making Runa wonder if he intended to escape. This makes Akane feel guilty, believing she's to blame for making Yamada uncomfortable, knowing how much of a social handicap he is around girls. Meanwhile, Yamada walks into a convenience store to buy his favorite drink, but the cashier gets attracted to his main character Aura. She asks for his name and tries to get his contact for a sneaky link, but Yamada simply tells her he is in a hurry. Embarrassed by his cold response, she blushes, but Yamada, noticing her red face, has no idea of the effect his rejection has on her, so he walks away without saying another word. When Yamada returns to the house, he notices the girls have prepared a meal for him with his name designed on top. He also notices the girls are fast asleep, so he decides to quietly repair the laptop without disturbing them. However, just as he is about to start, he turns to look at Akane and notices she has tied her hair up to prevent it from getting in his face again. But Yamada doesn't like it that way, since he always fantasizes about grabbing onto long hair during backshots, so he pulls her hairpin out to let her hair down. A few minutes later, the doorbell rings, and when Yamada opens it, he sees Takuma, who immediately goes into a frenzy seeing his gaming idol again. Takuma wonders if he and Akane are really a couple, but Yamada finally confesses that they are not dating. Hearing this low-key makes Takuma happy, since he has been suffering sleepless nights thinking Akane is dating a dude far better than him. Takuma then says he came over to return the containers that Akane used to make lunches for him when they were still dating. He explains that he has a pile of them and he never got to return them to Akane before their relationship hit rock bottom. Since he assumes he's the last person Akane wants to see, he hands the containers to Yamada and asks him to give them to her. Still, he says he'd like to see if she's okay, as that would give him peace of mind, so Yamada takes him inside, where the girls are sleeping like drunkards. Seeing that Akane is fine, Takuma begs Yamada not to tell Akane that he stopped by, and then asks him to lie that the lunch boxes appeared out of the blue. He then leaves, wishing Yamada good luck on his next gaming tournament. Suddenly, Akane shows up outside, so Yamada gives her the lunch boxes, explaining they appeared out of the blue, but Akane already figures they are from her ex, so she laughs and calls him a silly moron for lying, When they get inside, she thanks him for helping her deal with her ex, but Yamada says nothing. He simply returns the hairpin he pulled from her hair while she was asleep, but Akane freaks out, thinking it must have fallen out on its own. When Yamada explains he took it off, Akane is surprised and asks why, but Yamada admits he doesn't know why he did it. Akane is even more confused by his answer, but before she can press further, Yamada gets a call from Ada asking for a list of damaged parts that need replacing on the laptop. The next day, Akane interviews for a part-time job so she can repay Eita for repairing her laptop. With her irresistible charm, she manages to woo the horror-looking manager and get the job without much stress. Later that night, Akane is excited to once again log into her favorite game. Once she enters the game world, she sees Ruri and excitedly runs to meet her. They start jumping excitedly like baddies do, but Akane suddenly remembers that Ruri is a lonely dude in real life. She stops. She then asks Ruri what she is up to, and Ruri reveals that she is in a guild meeting with the submaster. Looking around, Akane excitedly wants to see the submaster, so Ruri points in the direction where the submaster is. At first, Akane can't see anyone, but when she looks closely, she sees a micro-sized creature that blows her mind. Ruri explains that the submaster is a member of the Micronists, and they are only tiny when they are not in combat. The submaster reveals he is the big-headed baldy, Kamoeda, and Akane is surprised at how much a person can change in the game world. Akane then tells Ruri she wants to pay her back for helping fix her laptop, but Ruri tells her not to bother, explaining that most of the parts were second-hand. Still, Akane insists on paying her back so she doesn't have to bend over one day for it. So Kamoeda suggests to Ruri that they let Akane take part in their plan since she's determined to repay her. The next day at school, while everyone prepares for the upcoming cultural festival, Yamada is busy aura farming with his good looks, making all the girls lose their minds. One ugly mofo then runs up to him and asks if he would love to enter the pageant, guaranteeing him an easy win since all the girls are dying to have a taste of his meat. But before Yamada can respond, some girls from his class call him over to take a quick peek at their pink meaty flaps. Yamada agrees, and as he heads back to his class, the worthless poop face won't let him be and tries convincing him to join his useless pageant. So Yamada ditches his ugly face, but when he gets to the class, he realizes the girls are gone. He notices his phone lying on a blue handkerchief and the hot chick sitting beside him. Tsubaki explains that his phone was vibrating non-stop, so she cushioned it with her towel. He thanks her and then returns her towel, but Tsubaki tells him that she watched his livestream the day before. She criticizes his aim as sloppy and his reaction time as weak, which she suspects is because he's been wasting time on love games instead of action games. Yamada tries to explain that it was because the server was down last night, but Tsubaki scolds him not to blame the connection. Not wanting to argue with her, Yamada checks his phone, and that's when he sees messages from Ruri informing him about the guild's upcoming cultural festival, which Akane will be sponsoring. Several weeks later, as the cultural festival begins, Akane rushes to Yamada's school panting like a fatso. On the way, she meets up with Runa and Kamoeda, and together they stroll around the festival, checking out the various activities. They also spot Ada acting like a clown just to rizz up some baddies, but they ignore him like smelly boxers, not wanting to share in the embarrassment. As they continue strolling, Akane looks around in fascination, happy to finally see Yamada's school. After walking for a while, Akane suggests they get something to eat, but Runa says she doesn't want anything and quickly moves ahead. Akane is confused by her actions, so Kamoeda reveals that Runa is nervous because she'll be taking the entrance exam for the school next year. Akane then encourages Runa to cheer up, and somehow this encouragement works to cheer her up. However, when they enter the school building, Runa sees some of the popular girls and gets nervous again. To hide her nervousness, she claims to have a terrible stomachache, so Akane escorts her to the restroom to relieve herself. While waiting for her outside, Akane wonders if she is ever going to see Yamada at some point. She considers asking Ada about him but decides against it, realizing that doing that might make her appear too desperate for Yamada's candy stick. Just as she's about to give up hope, she notices some boxes falling apart, and students rush to pick them up. Among them is Yamada, but as she tries to call his attention, another student distracts him, and together they head back into class. Akane resigns herself, realizing he's busy, but inside the class, Yamada asks his team for permission to step out for a minute. Tsubaki finds this suspicious because Yamada isn't the type of guy to just leave the class. Outside, Akane decides to check on Runa after the dwarf still isn't out of the restroom, but as she takes a step, she turns and notices Yamada about to touch her, and seeing him makes her heart skip a beat. Yamada explains that he noticed her the first time, but when he tried calling out to her, he and his team ran into some kind of trouble. But while he is speaking, he notices Akane smiling like a junkie high on expired Molly, and this confuses him. Meanwhile, Tsubaki comes out to check on Yamada, only to find him chatting with Akane, which makes her jealous. Moments later, Runa finally decides to come out of the toilet, so Akane and Yamada take her to the infirmary to get her checked up. After the checkup, the nurse says she doesn't have a fever and suggests she just lie down and get some rest. As the nurse leaves, Runa notices Yamada typing on his phone, and when she asks what he's doing, he says he's letting Ada know she isn't feeling well. Hearing this, Runa quickly stops him and then begs him not to, explaining that Ada will take her home if he finds out. She cries that she hasn't yet eaten anything yummy at the festival, so Akane offers to get her all she wants. Yamada volunteers to go with her, but as they walk side by side down the hallway, all the thirsty girls vying to be Yamada's main chick won't stop staring at Akane. This makes them uncomfortable, and as they try to walk faster, 3 first-year chicks confront them demanding to know if Akane is Yamada's babe. They insist on knowing if he prefers cougars over their fresh buns, so Akane tells them that she isn't Yamada's babe, and this makes them happy. Moments later, as Yamada and Akane rest from the constant interrogation from all the girls, Ada and Kamoeda meet up with them. Ada jokes about Akane aging faster than usual, but Akane explains that she looked that way because of all the stress she had to go through getting there. She complains about all the girls glaring at her, thinking she was Yamada's girlfriend, so Ada jokes about her crushing their hopes. He then suggests that since everyone already thinks they are dating, they should make it official, but Akane's heart nearly explodes out of her chest hearing this. When Ada asks Yamada what he thinks of the suggestion, Yamada calmly says he doesn't mind, but Akane turns red from shyness. Seeing her reaction, Ada immediately claims he is joking and apologizes for teasing her. But Akane can't hide how embarrassed she is, so she quickly leaves, claiming she needs to do some shopping for Runa. Ada thinks he's to blame and says he'll chase after her to apologize, but Yamada immediately chases after her instead, leaving Ada surprised seeing him run in slow motion like a Bollywood actor. Meanwhile, as Akane rushes into the store, she wonders why she is reacting in such a crazy way. Suddenly, she bumps into Tsubaki and apologizes, but Tsubaki tells her to watch where she is going. Just then, she spots Yamada approaching and immediately tries to run away from him, but as Yamada chases after her, Tsubaki tries to stop him, but he ignores her colder than your crush ignores you. He finally gets her to stop on the staircase and then apologizes for Ada's silly joke. However, before Akane can say a word, she notices all the thirsty girls have surrounded them again, so she quickly drags Yamada away by the collar. She then takes him to the upper staircase, which is quiet, so they can talk privately. There, she admits she isn't mad about the silly joke Ada made and suggests they drop the subject. However, she asks what his response would have been if she had taken the joke seriously and agreed to date him. For a brief moment, Yamada is silent, unable to say a single word, and this makes Akane tense, so she quickly says, "Psych," claiming she was only joking. She says his silence is the reason why no one should make a silly joke about matters of the heart, and then suggests they get moving. But Yamada stops her and says he will run the entire America barefoot if she ever agrees to date him. He adds that for someone like him to date someone like her would be his greatest accomplishment. Akane is caught off guard by his confession, and when she asks if he is being serious, Yamada says yes. The wind blows past her ears as she stares at him in shock, but Yamada suggests they get going, so she immediately runs after him to catch up. Weeks later, Akane invites Yamada to the convenience store she is working at to do some shopping so he can participate in the shop's lottery campaign. But Yamada doesn't see the need to participate in the lottery when he wouldn't win anything. One of Akane's co-workers notices how close Akane is with Yamada, so she asks if they are dating, but Akane denies it, saying they are just game buddies. After buying all he wanted, Yamada is about to leave, but Akane asks him to wait for her since her shift is almost over. However, when Miss Shinohara spots Yamada waiting for Akane outside the store, she is convinced they are dating, so she teases Akane for lying that she isn't the one enjoying the big black rod. Later, when Akane is done with her shift, she meets Yamada, and they walk home together. On the way, she gives Yamada a meal she prepared to thank him for helping her fix her laptop, but Yamada tells her it's not a big deal. Still, she insists, so he accepts, and while trying to cross the road, Akane almost gets hit by a bike rider, but Yamada pulls her close to save her. This catches her off guard, and for a brief moment Akane is too stunned to say a word. Later that day, while gisting with Momo, Akane gets a call from Runa asking to meet up with her urgently, panicking that the guild is in crisis. So moments later, when they meet at the park, Runa laments that the guild is getting a new female member. She complains that she can't deal with girls because girls hate her because of how cute she is, but Akane tells her that she is actually looking forward to meeting this new member. Runa gets jealous and accuses her of wanting to spend more time with the new chick and then abandon her, but Akane tells her to stop filling her head with silly ideas. Akane begs that they can all be friends, and this manages to calm Runa for the time being. Runa reveals that Ada had told her that Yamada will introduce them to the new girl since she is in his class. However, she finds it suspicious that Yamada is friends with a girl in his class, so days ago she tried calling Yamada to know about this girl, but he refused to tell her anything. So Runa collects Akane's phone, and after saving Yamada's number in it, she suggests that Akane call Yamada instead to find out who this new girl is. The next day at school, Tsubaki thanks Yamada for letting her join his guild, but Yamada tells her it's no big deal. Suddenly, Yamada gets a call from an unknown number, but he refuses to pick up since he is in class. His lizard-head friend, Okamoto, noticing that he isn't picking up, then teases that the call might be from one of his female admirers wanting to confess to him. But Tsubaki quickly shuts down the joke, insisting that Yamada isn't interested in romance, just games, and Yamada agrees. Later, while heading home, Yamada decides to call the unknown number, and he is surprised to learn it's Akane's. Akane tells him she got his number from Rona, and while she is speaking, she sneezes from catching a cold. Since she is already late for work, she promises they will talk once she is back. After the call, Tsubaki asks if it's from the same chick he brought to the festival, and Yamada says yes, explaining that they are all in the same guild. When Tsubaki asks what she is like, images of Akane sweep through Yamada's mind, and he gets too overwhelmed to say a word. Noticing his silence, Tsubaki asks if he likes Akane, but Yamada remains silent, caught off guard by the question. Later that night, Tsubaki logs into the game, and after creating her avatar, she accepts an invitation to join Yamada's guild. For years, Tsubaki has secretly liked Yamada, but she has tried so hard to hide it, but with Akane now in the picture, she fears she might not be able to hide it any longer. Meanwhile, Yamada is helping tutor Runa when she gets a call from Akane, and that's when she learns that Akane is down with a terrible cold and can't play with them that night. Once the call ends, she tells Yamada about the situation and hopes it's not too serious. At the same time, Akane gets home from work, but she is unable to stand on her feet due to the high fever. She tries to drink some water, hoping it will help with the high temperature, but she coughs it out as her throat hurts badly. At this point, she considers getting medicine from the pharmacy, but since she can't even stand on her feet, she tries calling Momo, but her line is switched off. So with no choice, she decides to manage the terrible condition and go by herself. Not wanting to spread germs, she considers not taking the bus and going by bike, but when she tries to use her bike, she stumbles to the ground out of weakness. Since she is too weak to use the bike, she realizes she can just order takeout instead, but as she tries to get to her feet, she gets dizzy and almost passes out. Luckily, Yamada arrives just in time and catches her before she hits the ground. Meanwhile, Tsubaki tries to reach Yamada, but since he isn't picking up, Okamoto jokes that Yamada might be getting his pee-pee wet. But Tsubaki angrily tells him that Yamada isn't a freaking creep like him. In response, Okamoto advises her to hurry up and let Yamada know she's head over heels in love with him or risk losing him to some random chick. Hearing this triggers a memory, as Tsubaki recalls the first time she ever spoke with Yamada. That day at school, she met him and, after introducing herself as the online opponent he trashed the night before, she asked him to teach her his gameplay. At first, Yamada refused to show her his ultimate power move, but later he gave in, and after school that day, he invited Tsubaki to his place to show her his epic skills. While watching him play, Tsubaki gets mesmerized by how skillful he is with his fingers and wishes he could use them all over her wet flaps. She then compliments how good he is and suggests that he played professionally. As the days pass, one of the girls at school confessed to Yamada, but he turned her down like a gigachad. Later in class, Tsubaki overhears two random side characters gossiping about the embarrassing confession. Because Yamada rejected girls so often, rumors spread that he attends ditty parties, and that's why he doesn't roll with girls. Later, Tsubaki advises Yamada to get a girlfriend so everyone will stop thinking he is some twink, but Yamada told her he didn't care what anyone thought. When she kept pressing him, he finally revealed the trauma that made him so cold towards girls. Years earlier, there was a girl who liked him, and because of that, everyone at school bullied her. Eventually, she stopped coming to school, hoping the bullying would end. But it didn't, and as she continued staying home, the teachers sent Yamada to her house with handouts to encourage her to return. It worked, and she returned, but she couldn't manage without Yamada constantly by her side. Eventually, Yamada got tired of babysitting her, so he tried using a trick from the player's handbook and told her they needed some space, but this broke her. She cried for hours, and in the end, she transferred to another school. Back in the present, Yamada admits he didn't handle the situation well, and that's why he never wants to make another girl cry. This decision, however, slowly turned him into a social outcast who became uncomfortable around girls. After hearing his sad story, Tsubaki decides not to act on her feelings because she can tell it would only lead to heartbreak that would hurt her deeply. Meanwhile, after Yamada carries Akane back to her apartment and gently lays her on the bed, he realizes she has a high fever, so he tries to lower it by placing a cold towel on her forehead. Still, the fever refuses to go down, so he takes her to a nearby hospital to get her properly treated. Hours later, after they return from the hospital, the fever finally subsides, and Akane eventually regains consciousness. However, when she notices Yamada dozing off beside her bed, she freaks out and immediately opens the window to get a better look. The cold breeze from outside wakes Yamada from his slumber, and seeing Akane awake relieves him. As she continues freaking out over his presence, Yamada asks her to go back to bed, promising to explain everything that happened. She obeys, and after Yamada explains what happened while she was unconscious, she cries out of gratitude, having never expected Yamada of all people to take care of her. She thanks him for worrying about her, but Yamada thinks the reason she is acting so emotional must be because of the after effects of the high fever. Yamada then returns the self-help book about breakups that he had been reading while she was asleep, and Akane admits that it is a good read since it helped her through her heartbreak. She explains that Yamada might not understand how painful heartbreak can be, since he has never bagged a chick in his life. But hearing this makes Yamada remember the girl he hurt in the past, so he tells Akane that he might not be as innocent as she thinks. Akane says that's the same thing Takuma told her before the loser shattered her heart like broken tiles. However, she says she holds no grudge against him and actually preferred that he broke up with her instead of two-timing her. After realizing that nothing she could say would have changed his mind, she accepted the breakup right away and, instead of crying, tried her best to smile so Takuma wouldn't remember her as the girl who cried over him. Hearing this reminds Yamada that after crying her eyes out, the girl from his past also thanked him for being there for her and tried her best to smile so he wouldn't remember her as the crying girl. Shortly afterward, Akane gets hungry and asks to eat Yamada's yogurt, and as she eats, she thinks about how safe she feels whenever Yamada is around. When she finishes eating, an intense cramp shoots through her legs, and as she cries out in pain, Yamada tries to help stretch them. Yamada ignores her shy protests, and after he finishes stretching them, the pain disappears, and she realizes she can move her legs properly again. Yamada calls her a drama queen, and as he reaches over the bed to grab a spoon, Akane thinks he is about to kiss her, so she pulls back and smacks her head against the iron bed frame. However, when she realizes Yamada only wanted the spoon, she gets embarrassed by her own misunderstanding, and seeing her reaction makes Yamada laugh. The next morning, Momo visits Akane to check on her, and she brings with her enough foodstuffs to last a week. While stocking the fridge, Momo asks Akane how she managed to get to the hospital, and Akane explains that Yamada helped her. Taken aback by her response, Momo asks if she has been secretly dating Yamada behind her back, but Akane denies it, saying they are just friends. Even so, Momo thinks Akane is capping, since she doesn't believe a guy would go out of his way like Yamada did for a chick he isn't in love with. For the rest of the day, Akane stays home to recover. She cooks, reads, and then sends a text to thank Yamada for how he took care of her. While wondering what to do next, she gets a message from Rona asking about her health and whether she is strong enough to log into the game. This reminds Akane that she still hasn't met the new player joining the guild, and since she's already worn out from studying, she decides to play a little. Logging into the game, she arrives at the beginner's fountain, where she sees Ruri and Tsubaki together. Excited, she runs over to meet them, and immediately realizes Tsubaki must be the rumored new player. After introductions, Akane quickly warms up to Tsubaki, so Ruri suggests they all go hunting to build team synergy. However, since Tsubaki is still a newbie, she complains that she hasn't mastered her attack move, so Akane volunteers to teach her, since they are both paladins. When they arrive at the hunting ground, Ruri is busy chilling under a tree, while Akane and Tsubaki face off against a terrifying monster. Akane gets bodied and tossed to the ground, so she asks Ruri to make herself useful instead of leaving the fighting to them. But Ruri refuses to help, saying it's for their character's development. Even when Tsubaki points out that the monster has an unlimited health bar and refuses to die, Ruri still refuses to help, telling them to figure it out themselves. After numerous failed attempts to bring down the monster, Akane suggests they mash the skill button like frustrated maniacs. She explains that doing that might be the only way to defeat the gooey beast, so Tsubaki agrees. Together, they tap the attack button on their keyboards harder than I tap fat cheeks in the club, but still the only things taking damage were their fingers. After watching them struggle, Ruri finally decides to give them a hint on how to defeat the boss. However, before she can, Tsubaki comes up with a brilliant idea using her 500 million years of gaming experience and suggests they play dead, so the monster leaves due to time running out. Surprisingly, it works, and as the monster leaves, Tsubaki suggests that the next time they face such an enemy, they search for the perfect window to land their attack. Akane agrees to her brilliant suggestion, and while watching the girls bond as the perfect team, Ruri is surprised at how fast they've become best friends. By the time they are done playing, Tsubaki logs out of the game and is surprised at how easy Akane is to talk to, something she never expected. Later that night, Akane calls Yamada to ask for tips on defeating the monster with the unlimited health bar, and they spend hours talking about it. The next day in the game, Ruri has a private talk with Tsubaki, asking her how she feels about their guild. Tsubaki admits that everyone has been so nice to her and that they have really put her at ease. However, she says she feels bad about it, since initially she had no interest in the game and she only agreed to play because she wanted to know what Yamada enjoyed about the game. But now she is starting to doubt herself. Ruri encourages her to share her problems, saying her ears are a safe place, but Tsubaki refuses to share further, claiming it's nothing. However, she does mention that she lacks the courage to make a move, and although Ruri has no idea what move she means, she motivates her to do what she has to do. The next day, Akane meets up with Momo at a fancy restaurant because she claims to have something important to discuss with her. But just as they are about to start talking, two random losers show up, and Momo instantly recognizes them as the jerks she once went on a group date with. She remembers that the reason things didn't work out between them is because the creeps are super touchy and pesky. Unfortunately, the idiots who can't read the room insist on sharing the same table with them, so Momo secretly apologizes to Akane for the embarrassment and then asks her to just avoid them. The girls try to avoid them, but the morons just wouldn't leave, making them super uncomfortable. Fortunately, Ada suddenly shows up, and Akane is surprised to learn that he works as a waiter at the restaurant. Noticing how uncomfortable the girls are, Ada politely asks the annoying donkeys to move to another table. When they refuse, Ada almost unleashes his secret nen, but instead he tells them to leave, this time using his deep voice, and when they see how serious he is, they leave without a word of argument. While Akane thanks Ada for his help, Momo is awestruck by how hot Ada is, and her floodgates are about to burst wide open. When she finally regains her composure, she also thanks Ada for helping them, but the hottie just winks at her, bursting her floodgates again. Before leaving the restaurant, Akane and Momo meet Ada, and Akane tells him that she needs to discuss something with him. When Ada asks what the problem is, Akane is too shy to say a word, so Momo voices out that Akane is in love with someone. Since Ada already knows she loves Yamada, he congratulates her, but Akane admits she is struggling with her feelings. She tells Ada that when she looks at his face, she sees Ruri, which makes her want to confide in him just as she does with Ruri in the game world. She explains that when she was heartbroken, Ruri and Momo were her confidants, and that's why she wants them to be the first to know she has fallen in love again. Understanding her point, Ada tells her that Yamada is a good guy since they've been friends for years. He says, even though people tend to talk a lot about his gloomy look, he is kind-hearted. He encourages Akane to be straightforward and confess her feelings, assuring her that even if she gets rejected, they will be there to console her. Hyped up by his encouragement, Akane decides to take her chances and confess to Yamada, so she heads to his apartment. She runs through the alleyway feeling more excited than she has been for a while. Even though deep down she is panicking, not knowing what to expect, she keeps running, believing she will be fine. Finally, as she arrives at Yamada's crib, she rings the doorbell, and Yamada opens the door, looking confused. When he asks why she is there, Akane tries to spill all that's on her mind, but a crazy lady and her old gramps just wouldn't stop shouting in the background, frustrating her effort. Since Yamada is already late for cram school, he suggests that whatever she has to say, they talk about it on his way to the train station. Akane agrees, but deep down, she feels like a fool for not realizing that Yamada also has his own schedule. She tries suggesting she come back later, but Yamada slowly closes the door, and the closeness between them makes her shiver. He then asks her to give him a few minutes while he changes, and before Akane can even blink an eye, Bro is already changed. Together, they stroll to the train station, but along the way, Akane gets cold feet and is unable to confess. She decides to do it another time, so the silence lingers until Yamada gets to the train station and suggests they talk about it over the phone when he is back from cram school. Akane gets excited at the idea, since it will be easier to confess without seeing him face to face, so she bids him farewell. Later that evening, it rains, and after cram lessons, Okamoto advises Tsubaki to go home with Yamada under his umbrella so she can finally score a point. Not wanting to look desperate, Tsubaki refuses, but Okamoto warns that if she doesn't, her rusty kitty will never get oiled. Tsubaki finally agrees, so she meets Yamada and shyly asks to share his umbrella to the train station. As they head home together, Yamada's virgin gene can't stand being so close to a girl, so he tells Tsubaki to use the umbrella and then runs off to the train station. Tsubaki tries to stop him, but the redneck virgin dashes off in the rain. Not wanting to lose this opportunity, she immediately chases after him, but she bumps into a passerby and her glasses drop to the ground. Since she is half blind without her glasses, she searches frantically for it until Yamada suddenly appears and hands them back to her. Overwhelmed by the moment, Tsubaki blurts out that she likes him, then immediately shuts her mouth once the words escape. She cries and apologizes for putting him on the spot, but says all she wants is for him to think about her, even if just for that night. Meanwhile, Akane is eagerly expecting a call from Yamada so she can also confess, but instead, she gets a text from him apologizing that he can't call her that night, and this breaks her heart. The following day, while Yamada tutors Runa, Ada walks in and asks Yamada if someone confessed to him. When Yamada asks how he knew, Ada claims to know everything, and in his mind, he is secretly excited that Akane managed to pull through with the confession. When he asks if Yamada accepted, Yamada says it's none of his business, so Ada angrily advises him to give an answer already and stop acting like a princess. Later that day, Yamada tries calling Akane, but since her number isn't reachable, he visits her at her place of work. Akane then takes a break to meet him outside where he apologizes for not calling as promised, but she claims it's fine, saying the issue isn't important anyway. She then notices how gloomy Yamada is, so she tries to cheer him up by yapping about the game and the recent gear she just got. She says she got a powerful sword, and when Yamada asks the type of sword she got, Akane sketches it on his palm and even draws her game character holding it. She then tells him to cheer up and asks him to go back to being the mysterious Yamada he was before. Hearing this, Yamada opens up and admits that the reason he doesn't say much is because he's afraid of saying the wrong things. He calls himself a total loser who doesn't understand people's feelings, but Akane disagrees and tells him he is not a nobody but a fun guy. Days later, Tsubaki invites Yamada out to discuss her sudden confession. However, in her mind, she prepares herself in case she gets rejected, since rejecting girls is basically Yamada's default setting. After summoning her courage, she tells him that she has always liked him, even before the rest of the thirsty chicks started flocking around him. She admits that she hid her feelings from him so he wouldn't catch on, but that morning she realized she could no longer keep them bottled up and needed to let him know. After taking a deep breath, Tsubaki confesses that she really likes the way Yamada plays games and has always admired how mature he is. She goes on, listing all the things she likes about him, making Yamada wonder if she is some kind of obsessed creep. When she finally finishes her love poem, she tells him that she likes him more than anyone else in the world and then bursts into tears. Even though she is overwhelmed by the confession, Tsubaki feels relieved to have finally let go of the weight that had been crushing her heart. But after listening to everything she has to say, Yamada gently rejects her, explaining that he can't reciprocate her feelings. Hearing this shatters Tsubaki's heart, but then the cute drawing on his hand catches her attention. When she asks about it, Yamada tells her it was drawn by someone he was joking around with. But Tsubaki instantly recognizes that the game character belongs to Akane, and that's when she finally realizes that Akane is the girl Yamada truly likes. The realization makes her cry a river, but Yamada thanks her for having feelings for him and apologizes that he can't feel the same way. Tsubaki accepts his apology even though it hurts, and says she will be heading home, but as she turns to leave, the blind mouse smacks her head against a vending machine because she isn't wearing her glasses. Shocked by this, Yamada immediately offers to walk her home before she ends up kissing Truck-kun, but Tsubaki refuses, saying she is fine and can make it home by herself. A week later, all the members of the guild are invited to a fancy restaurant by Kamoeda for a guild meeting. When they all arrive, they are shocked to discover that the short baldy somehow knows a bunch of important people. They also find out that he got them a private room filled with delicious delicacies, and soon after, the waitress brings in even more food sent over by Kamoeda's famous acquaintances. Shortly afterward, Yamada arrives late to the feast only to find Akane completely wasted. Even though Kamoeda tells him to relax and enjoy himself while he orders an Uber for Akane, Yamada insists on taking her home himself. On the way, he buys her a bottle of water to help her sober up, and once the alcohol leaves her system a little, she apologizes for the trouble she put him through. She then politely asks him to leave, saying she can find her own way home and doesn't want to trouble him anymore. But Yamada takes her by the hand and insists on seeing her home safely. As they walk together, her heel gets stuck in the pavement, but Yamada helps her pull it free, and the way he treats her like a princess fills Akane's intoxicated heart with butterflies. As he stands up, Akane reaches out to touch him, but hesitates. Noticing this, Yamada gently takes her hand instead, making her even more flustered. Soon, they arrive at Akane's apartment, and as Yamada turns to leave, she quickly grabs the sleeve of his jacket. Without thinking, she asks if he likes her and immediately gets embarrassed by the silly question. But to her surprise, Yamada quietly admits that he does, but Akane doesn't quite hear him because she is still tipsy. So Yamada tells her again that he likes her, and says that if she forgets by morning, he will come back and tell her again until she remembers. He then turns to leave, but Akane is far too happy to let him go just like that, so she runs after him and wraps him in a hug. Comment gamer girls if you watch this recap to the end, and if you enjoy anime recaps like this, subscribe to the channel and watch this next video.